Moving on to the All-Ireland Camogie final then, that's taking place on Sunday between Cork and Galway. Cork bidding for 3 in a row, which could be massive from a Cork perspective. And look, obviously, having achieved what they achieved last year against Galway in the final, beating Waterford the season previous, of course, as well. But look, interesting enough, they are playing Galway in the final. They beat Galway in the final last year, but it was very narrow in the end. Like, it was only a 3-point win in the All-Ireland final last year, and it was certainly a game that a lot of people expected to be very one-sided from a Cork perspective, and it didn't quite turn out that way. So what's the feeling like going into the final this year?
Obviously, a lot of confidence. As I mentioned previously in the podcast, Cork have an average winning margin in the championship of 20 points, which is astronomical in its own right. The closest team that has got to Cork in this championship has been Clare, who lost by 9 points down at Super Valley Park Eve. So that just epitomises Cork's kind of dominance this year. Would I say it's the exact same as the hurling in terms of the height? Probably not, because when you look at the hurling, there was so many unconvincing displays, like the game against Waterford, like the game against Tip, even when we were up a man, like we weren't doing things properly and things like that. The game against Limerick where we got hammered and stuff like that. This Camogie team across the league and the championship have been utterly dominant when they played their first game. They have not put a foot wrong, really. And I was chatting to Saoirse McCarthy on the Southern Star podcast in the last few weeks. I did ask her about the hurlers lost to Tipperary. And what she said was very, very interesting. She was saying that it's got us more tuned in. It shows you anything can happen in sport if you're not tuned in, if you don't aren't ready from the whistle. And I think this Cork Camogie team is thrilled. And they all enjoy playing with each other as well. The enjoyment is through the roof. You look at the players performing well at this stage, the experienced campaigners, Amy O'Connor, Aisling Thompson, Katrina Mackey, Pamela Mackey, Amy Lee, like they are performing very well. Or Tracy, of course, they are performing very, very well this season. But you add that with the youth exuberance, Orla Callahan having a decent season, Clodagh Finn, one of the top scorers from playing the championship, really good introductory season in many ways for Clodagh. She did come on and get a point, one of the insurance points against Galway in the All-Ireland final last year, but she wasn't a starter up until this year. Then she hits form in the Ashford Cup with UCC, and she gets the start under Durham Manley because of Katrina Mackey's injury. And what a decision that's turned out to be. She's been absolutely brilliant throughout the championship. She got a bit of an injury in the semi-final. Hopefully we'll recover for the final. You look at Laura Hayes, the performances she's had over the last few seasons. You look at Maeve Callahan, the captain, absolutely brilliant. And the whole Cork panel have really contributed in many ways as well. So it's been a brilliant year for Cork so far. They just have to finish it off. But the thing is, it's kind of weird, Aaron. Cork have won a lot of All-Irelands, but they haven't won a 3 in a row in Camogie since 1973. So there's history on the line for this group. It's going to be very, very interesting to see. Look, Galway, the thing is, Galway actually lost to Cork in the league final by 11 points, 21 points to 10. And I was looking while doing a piece for the Southern Star, to obviously pick it up this Thursday for a preview. And I was looking at the two teams on that day in April. And Galway, from the semi-final win over Tipperary to the league final, there was a one-player difference. But it's absolutely massive when you think about it, because that player was Roisin Black. She wasn't there against Cork. She's now full-back. And I think that is a massive coup for Galway to get her back in, because when you compare the semi-final and the league final, against Cork, Galway conceded 18 points from play. Cork had a 72% shot accuracy. Against Tip in the All-Ireland semi-final, Galway only conceded 1-3 from play. And when you look at it in deep dive as well, the goal they conceded was very, very fortuitous from a Tip point of view, when Karen Kennedy hit the ball and it just ended up in the back of the net from a long way out. So I think Galway have massively improved defensive-wise. Their players have improved. Ailish O'Reilly was absolutely outstanding in the semi-final. Aoife Donoghue, as experienced as they come. Carrie Dolan, brilliant free taker, 42 points this season. Niamh Mallon, 117 from play the goal coming in the All-Ireland semi against Tipperary. Galway are a team for the big occasion. But the thing is with Galway, they've lost a lot of experienced campaigners down through the years. It is well documented. Sarah Dorfin, I don't know if Sarah Dorfin actually retired. Niamh Kilkenny didn't commit this season. The two McGraths, Orla and Siobhan, aren't in the panel this year. So a lot of the onus will be down to Ailish O'Reilly, the Emma Heliberts, the Eva Donahues, the Carrie Dolans. A lot of onus will be down to those players, to Dervla Higgins, Shauna Healy, all them players. Will that be too much for them when you look at Cork? Then there's a lot of youth experience, but the older players have really stayed with this Cork team for the last few years. Like, there's no sign of Amy O'Connor dropping out. There's no sign of Aisling Thompson dropping out. Like, Aisling Thompson's mid-30s, and there's no sign of her dropping out. Paula Mackey, Katrina Mackey, Hannah Looney, no sign of them dropping out whatsoever. And that is a positive sign from a Cork point of view as well. And they seem so assured in what they're doing at the same time as well. Yes, they might have played poor enough opposition up to this point. Obviously, you have to play what's in front of you. But when you look at, even when they were this tricky situation, Cork in the semi-final against Waterford, they were a point down. Waterford were flying 80% shot accuracy in the first half. They were absolutely brilliant. In fairness to Waterford, Niamh Rockett and Beth Carton and these players really put it up to Cork. But Cork didn't say, this is an off day. They went out in the second half and they performed absolutely brilliantly, and they got over the line. Not just got over the line, they won by 10 points in the end. 11-point turnaround. So this Cork team is capable of turning around what seems to be a kind of tricky situation and turn it into a comprehensive win. I'm not saying it will be a comprehensive win in the final, because the finals have a different meaning altogether, but it will be, it's going to be a very, very interesting game to call. Like, Galway will turn up. It's just a question, can Cork keep that consistent level for this final as well? I'm sure they will, because they are a grounded group from what I've seen anyway. They are a very, very good team as well. They won the league title. They didn't, well, you could argue they probably won the Munster because they eventually beat Waterford, but obviously that Munster campaign was cancelled because of the Scorched Shorts debacle. Said about that the better. But the point is, Cork have won nearly everything. They won last year's All-Ireland, they won the league title, and they're gunning for a third title in a row. I think they're in a very good position to do that. And I'm sure they will be wary of Galway's test, because this is a Galway team that have put it up to Cork for so many seasons now. And when you look at the last 10 championship meetings between the sides, I did a bit of research earlier on for the Star as well today. Out of the last 10 meetings, 5 wins each. So when you consider that, it's a tight game. But Cork have performed to such a level this year that I just can't see them losing this Sunday.
Yeah, I think so as well. Like, I mean, it's been, as you said, like, they've been so dominant this year, like so dominant, and it seems like it'd be very hard to stop them. Like, I do remember watching the final though last year though, and there was that same kind of consensus that Cork were just going to roll Galway over, and that didn't happen in the end. Like, looking at this Cork side, like, is there a weakness there? Like, is there a way that Galway could be Cork? Could it be complacency creep in? Although I think we'd be fair to say we haven't seen that from this Cork team so far this year. There's no evidence to suggest that will happen, but is there any kind of weakness that Galway fans could maybe cling towards going into the final?
The thing is, Aaron, and like, you could say it about the hurlers, and that's why Tip won the final in the end. But genuinely can't see it with this Camogie team at this present moment in time. They have the scores. If Amy O'Connor's having a bad day for the Vries, put Saoirse McCarthy on them. If she's having a bad day, put Katrina Mackey on them. So they have other players that could step up. And as well as that, across the whole calendar year, Cork have conceded 3 goals across league and championship. That is a brilliant statistic. There was a spell, I think Saoirse McCarthy did mention on the Star podcast as well, that there was a spell that Amy Lee didn't concede an inter-county goal for near almost a year, which is, it's exceptional in its own right. And that's a credit to the defence as well. The likes of our Tracy Batter, the likes of Maeve Callan. Obviously, there are a few absentees. Izzy O'Regan, unfortunately, is injured for this season. Best wishes to her in her recovery. But you look at the Cork team right now, and you talk about weaknesses like the goalkeeper Amy Lee, solid as ever. The full backline, Pamela Mackey, Libby Coppinger, Maeve Callan, experience as they come. Aoife Healy, Laura Tracy, Laura Hayes. I've been together for so many seasons in that line. Hannah Looney, Aisling Thompson, as experienced as they come. Orla Callan, Emma Murray, Saoirse McCarthy. Okay, Saoirse McCarthy has played well, but maybe that could be one. Orla Callan and Emma Murray. Orla Callan has played a few seasons in the Cork team, but there might be a bit of inexperience there. So maybe the Galway halfback line could get at the likes of Emma Murray and Orla Callan. And then you look at the full forwards, Katrina Mackey, Saoirse McCartan, and Amy O'Connor. I could easily bring in the youth and exuberance of Clodagh Finn there as well. So like it's going to be very, very hard for Cork to be stopped. And even then, Waterford kind of tried to quell Cork, and they did so well in doing that and playing a sweeper and things like that. But even then, they got tired as the game went on, and Cork would bring on the subs. Orla Mullins didn't see much starting time. She's only a young player herself, and she got 1-2 from play off the bench against Waterford. That's not a good sign for Galway if you're bringing on those sorts of players as well. But what I will say about Galway, they had around over 60% shot accuracy against Tipperary, massively improved, 65% overall. They only missed 10 shots. They got 113 from play, 63% shot accuracy for play as well. They were better at the turnover count. Their puck outs were pretty good as well from Sarah Healy. So there are ways for Galway to get at them. And they do have the players, absolutely. And Galway have the temperament to go over Cork. Like, it was the way in 2023 Cork faced Waterford, but it was almost like Cork were always going to win that final because Waterford were kind of newbies. They weren't experienced at this level, whereas Galway are. And there's always a capability for Galway to turn it on and flick on a switch and perform in Croke Park. Galway did beat Cork in the 2021 All-Ireland final as well. Let's not forget that. So there is a way for Galway to go on and win this game. I just can't see any weakness in this Cork team. I really can't, Aaron. I think Galway, the thing is, they played nearer to 100% last year and they still fell short.
Yeah.
So it's going to be very, very difficult to see how Galway do get over the line, even without Niamh Kilkenny this season as well, and without Sue McGrath.
Yeah, no, I think so as well. It all is pointing towards a Cork victory, and it would be an absolute massive upset if Galway were to go and pull it off. In terms of a score prediction, look, I'm going to go 3-13 to 12 points for Cork. I'm going to go in the team of one-sided finals, which a lot of them have ended up in terms of the All-Ireland finals across the three previous codes. I think Cork are going to win it by 10 in the end. Look, I do think Galway will, like what you said, I think they'll stifle Cork and maybe in the early exchanges they'll be able to restrict them and everything else. But I do think Cork will pick them off. And as you said, with the players that they can bring off the bench, I think they'll be too strong. What would be your prediction?
I'm probably going to go tighter, to be honest with you. I'm going to say Cork 2-15, Galway 1-14.
There we go.
4-point margin. I think Cork will get over the line with Galway. They always turn up in finals. I think they'll stifle Cork in the first half, maybe get a goal through an Aoife O'Reilly or somebody like a Niamh Mallon. But Cork will turn around the second half with their subs bench, with their experience, with their know-how. I think they'll get over the line.
Yeah, well, if my predictions are anything to go by this year, Galway will probably win now. So, looking at previous predictions, when I've backed big teams to win big, usually the opposite has happened. So we'll see what happens there, but we will certainly stick with a Cork win. So yeah, look, we'll wrap it up there. Cheers anyone who did tune in. Do let us know in the comments your thoughts on some of the different topics we did discuss. Be back later in the week to do some grades of all Ireland football counties. We did one last week of the hurling county, so we'll be back later in the week to I'll be back later in the week to do the football one. So do stay tuned for that. And until the next podcast, make sure to check it out. Make sure to check out Matthew's podcast as well, Gaelic Statsman, on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. You'll be able to get it everywhere. And until the next one, we'll speak to you all later.